Hi, Carolyn and Kelly, welcome.
Hi there.
Hi.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about Blood in the Snow's Horror Development Lab today, but I thought maybe you could introduce yourselves first so that people know who you are and why we're here. Kelly?
Yeah, hi, I'm Michael Stewart. I'm the festival director and founder of Blood in the Snow, which was founded in 2012, and we became a nonprofit 3 years later, and we've been growing ever since. Normally we are, I would say normally because of the pandemic, but normally we're about 6 days at the Royal Cinema in Toronto every year, and then in the last couple of years we've been on Super Channel and looking at this year.
Great. And Carolyn?
Hi, I'm Carolyn Mauricette. I'm a programmer and the development coordinator for the Horror Lab. And yeah, I've been with BITS since I think 2015, right, Kelly? I don't know. I feel like I've been with BITS for forever, which is in a good way. Yeah, and just really excited to get this Horror Lab going. So yeah.
Great. So what's this Horror Development Lab and why? Maybe Carolyn, you could start.
Yeah, so basically we wanted to get a bit more diversity coming in with horror films and you know, in terms of directors, cast, that sort of thing. And we were getting some great submissions. We've had over the years a lot of great Indigenous horror shorts, and actually some sci-fi from last year. We had a great sci-fi submission that played, but we wanted to get more. Like, it just seemed a little bit piecemeal, like here and there and the other. So we want to facilitate that. We know there are filmmakers out there, filmmakers of color, from the LGBTQ community, disabled community as well. We wanted to have more variety and representation. So that's what this lab is doing. We want to facilitate that. We want to bring people in with their projects that are either almost fully realized or from a short to a feature, and have those produced and put them in front of industry insiders and leaders so that they can get that made.
Great. So, okay, so that's sort of the why. Maybe Kelly, can you walk us through a little bit about through the process of application and sort of what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, this is our first year for it, so we've tried to keep things as broad as we possibly can for like what we're looking for submissions. But we have a really amazing jury that will be deciding on all these applications. And we have a new website called deadlyexposure.ca, and then there's a drop down there, and there's an application that you can fill out, just our Google Doc online. Very quick form, and just basically just to give us a little bit about you as the filmmaker, and then we'll review that, and then one of us will send the proposal document, and it's just a multi-page proposal document of just what your plan to, what your film project is, and all the details around that. So it's pretty. I think if most filmmakers, if you filled out other applications for grants or other say mentorship labs and things like that over the, for that project like that, if you've done a pitch book, probably all that information, you probably already have that already. But it's really just, there's no wrong answers to, I can stress. It's just really more about, we want to gauge where you're at and if you fit for this program. And because I think what we're really kind of stressing with this is, and this is the thing that I think the hardest part that Carolyn and I went through and our team went through trying to figure out what we wanted it to be, was didn't want to get into the old mentorship loop, so that filmmakers come and they do it for a week and then they go back home and then they're exactly where they were before. And one of the biases that we were hearing from complaints of this underrepresented filmmakers is that they were kind of treated as constantly apprentices, not ready, not professional, not ready to have a fully realized project. So we weren't really. That's why we're really focusing as the terminology is development lab. Not that there wouldn't be some mentorship at the conference, but we really want to make sure that that we're sending a message that these filmmakers are ready to go to camera. So what we're hoping is that what we mean is by like, so the projects that you're in your proposal should be, it doesn't mean it has to be financed yet. It doesn't mean it has to have everything all together yet. It just means that you're at a level, it's more about where the filmmaker is rather than even the project. It's more about, and this is why we want a prior existing short, at least one short or some kind of project that we can look at and go, okay, you're at a certain professional level now that you are ready to talk to people that can help you get your feature made. And one of the things that we found running Blood in the Snow in the deadly exposure industry side is that there's the filmmakers that can get in front of these distributors, sales agents, funders are the ones that are going to be able to get their features made. And we do see a lot of shorts getting made over and over again from all walks of life that they just don't know how to, they do really technically strong storytelling and really high-end shorts, but they don't really get it to that, they're not able to get the stuff together to make a feature. And I think more times than not is that they don't have those doors open and they don't have that contact face to face. So really the proposal is really just to see if they're at that point yet. And then that'll be decided by the jury. And then we'll be picking, at this point, we're looking at about 12 to 15 teams or filmmakers to be in that, and we'll be letting them know that application process will be open until August 15th. And then we'll be letting filmmakers know pretty quickly after that to move forward for that, and what we'll be doing in October, November.
Great. So remind me, August 15th is the closing date for applications. How many applicants?
Well, we're looking, that's been open-ended at the moment. We're looking at 12 to 15 if it's in person. The way with things are going with COVID, we're very more likely to be doing it online, which actually means we might be able to do a few more. Right, that gives us a little bit more flexibility. That's one of the upsides if we end up doing it over video like this. So we're keeping our options open for as how we kind of get to. If it's one of those things. If we have 15 really strong, if we have 16 really strong projects that we want to invite for this, we're not going to turn one down just because we said 15. You know what I mean? Like it'll probably really depend on what we get for application. And also, we also want to balance that with how many industry leads. So because we're also pairing them with an industry lead that's going to help them, help them through the process a little bit. They'll have follow-up calls after the lab is over. So we have to balance that. We don't want to have, probably pair them with more than 4 or 5 filmmakers. So.
Okay, so well, it sounds really great, but there, I have a follow-up question to that. So this is for Canadian filmmakers specifically within Canada, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. And what are the criteria, Carolyn, for applicants? I think you mentioned earlier about inclusivity and IBPOC or BIPOC and LGBTQ+. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, because again, we know they're out there. We know that there are filmmakers from underrepresented groups creating genre, specifically genre film. We know they're out there, and it's really difficult, I think, in general, for independent filmmakers to kind of get that foot in the door. So you can only imagine if you're from an underrepresented group, how difficult that would be. So yeah, we're looking for filmmakers from underrepresented groups, cast from underrepresented groups, crew from underrepresented groups. And we're hoping that, they're not afraid to submit or to apply. Because I think that's really important, is that we create a welcoming space for filmmakers from these groups that, may not think that they have a spot anywhere. So I think that's one of the more important goals, is that we want them to feel welcome, to actually have access to these industry leaders as well. So I think that's hugely important as well.
And when you mention industry leaders, Kelly, is it people who are in distribution? You know, just give us an example or two about that.
Well, we're still picking those people, but we're in talks already. Super Channel obviously will be a part of that. I mean, they're our main sponsor. We present our festival on Super Channel like that, and so they're going to be involved in some capacity. We also are talking to the main distributors in Canada, and I'm quite confident that they will all be involved. I don't want to name all of them yet, but if you look at the major distributors, I mean, they're at our festival every year anyway, and I was one of the things that was very exciting. I had individual messages. I didn't have to go to them. A bunch of them, 4 or 5 people and companies reached out to me in the last 5 days about how can we help, how can we be involved. So that was incredibly great to see that. I mean, the good news is we've been doing this for 10 years too. So even if the lab is new, we're not new. Like I feel like we've built a bit of a reputation, and I think, and then we've built a reputation of being an emerging filmmaker festival anyway. I mean, that's kind of what we do. I mean, the budget levels that for people listening or watching this is that it's not the kind of development you would have at, say, TIFF, like where they're hugely millions of dollars of films coming down to. The average budget that plays Blood in the Snow is anywhere between 250,000 and 1.5 million, which is very small when you look at the cost of a feature film. So we're kind of like the scrappy underground kind of development kind of like that too. And I think that's why this is we're probably better positioned than any other organization in Canada to do this, because we are kind of in that scrappy first feature or second feature kind of thing like that too, area like that too, that we can that you would be doing. And most, I think almost every filmmaker that, especially if you've done anything genre, have come through our festival one way or another, whether it's in a short or for a first feature or multiple features, but kind of through that, like that. So we have that kind of, I think we have that kind of reputation, and I think that was really great. So basically, if you look at, I think the filmmakers the people that they want to talk to in Canada will be involved in some way or another.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I've been attending the festival for many years as well, and I do hear this from filmmakers I've met at the festival year round, through the years, that they appreciate the welcoming that you provide to them, because for them sometimes it really is their first time at a festival, and just being able to be part of a community that is so open to new ideas and styles of filmmaking as well. I know we talk about genre, but I also think that within that you also include things like sci-fi, like you mentioned, Carolyn, in the beginning. So you're not looking specifically for just horror films applicants in this for the lab, correct?
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, it's everything that you would see. If it's a film that would play our festival, then it would be open for the lab. That would be the benchmark I would look at. You know, so we're calling it horror development lab because we want to distinguish it from other labs that you would have it, say, at Whistler or something like that. But ours is it's so basically horror, sci-fi, dark thrillers, dark, right, that too, action, that too. But you know, anything along those lines, right, that would be. We keep the umbrella pretty broad, because there's always films that surprise us that we play every year that we don't know if it fits into it, and we play it and it does. So I think that lab will be the same way, where we'll keep it in that general direction, but it's not like there's no hard line like, oh, you don't have zombies in it, well, you're not, you know, it's not like because we wouldn't do that for programming, right? So
right. Yeah, and I think it's important you mentioned this, because I find that maybe somebody might think their film idea may not be suitable, but the creativity is there in terms of storytelling, and this will be a great venue for someone like that to explore where they could take that story.
Yeah,
we've had like you know, when the festival was actually in person, we've had like an experimental film installment, like an art installment. So I mean, I think what Kelly was saying is that we want it to stay broad, because you never know what you're going to get. And, you know, a lot of it's really great stuff. So,
yeah. And I think we need more avenues for this talent to be showcased as well, right? Like you mentioned, there's other festivals that are pretty niche or have their own criteria. So we want to keep some of the Canadian talent here in Canada.
Yeah.
Um,
and one thing I wanted to add too is like how just the back at the beginning of like how this even got brought up. And I was actually, it took so long on Facebook, I couldn't find it. It was too many years back to find it. But I wanted to get a screenshot of the first time Carolyn complained to me actually about, she was watching submissions for the festival. And it was probably, how many years ago was it, you think? 3?
Yeah, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
Wow, this is how long we've been talking about this. This has been, and it was a very simple, and it's funny how it can be the smallest little kernel that starts it, because it was simply just a little comment, personal comment, like on Messenger on Facebook of Kelly, and she was just watching the submission. Well, why don't you say, Carolyn? You were watching some submissions, and then.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I know I said something like, you know,
why is it so white? I think it was.
Yeah.
You just watched a bunch of submissions. All right, put words in your mouth. But I just like. Oh.
Yeah, I was just like, and it's like a lot of the times it's just a lot of yeah, it's, I don't know how I can be diplomatic about this, but I guess
we don't really have to be, right?
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, it was really overwhelmingly white. And I know there's a lot of filmmakers out there. I went to an event a couple of years ago, and I talked to a couple of young Black filmmakers, and they're like, yeah, I made a horror film, and it was just been sitting there on my computer for a long time. I'm like, well, submit it. I'm like, here's my card, submit it, you know. I don't know, I don't think they did, but I actually took their names down. So I'm gonna actually, you know, encourage people to send us stuff. And sure, maybe you're not at the level where say you're going to get a feature film out of your project, but just getting eyes on it, you know, just getting the talent kind of recognized or seen, like you just want them to be seen. So yeah, I guess from that conversation with Kelly, you know.
And I just said, well, let's be the change. Like that's just, it's just like we're in a position to do that. And it's like I'm a strong believer that if you want something changed in it, and if you're in, and the reality is, I'm in a position of power, and kind of that, and that's just, and I you know, it's how do I, you know, how do I do it for good or for bad, and kind of just like so. So I said, let's facilitate this. Let's figure out a way that we can do this. So it was a long process, because you're just kind of thinking. Also, it was also how to do it at the right time, and put it together like that too, just because we're, you know, we're an emerging festival too, and we're growing. And there's been different initiatives that we've tried over the years that I think was a little too early on certain things that did maybe take off at the right, you know, at the right time, kind of that too. And but this, just the reaction that we got, it was just like, oh yeah, this is the right time. This is just the way the reaction we got. I think if we had done it, and even 4 years ago, I think we might have been still too small at that point, because we were just moving from going to a smaller festival to Carleton over 3 days, you know, we've only moved up to 6 days in 2018. We really only had major, you know, funders like Ontario Crates and Telefilm come on board for about 4 years now. So it's like any earlier than that, we would have been trying to do it on our own, and that would have been, and we've having a lot more industry support the last couple of years, like that too. That's really critical. So it wasn't like we were hesitating or anything like that. It was just that we had to be it's just the same way the filmmakers have to be at a certain level to be able to make their features. We had to be at a certain level to be able to facilitate this properly, because sometimes smaller organizations can try this stuff and with good intentions, but it's kind of like they end up just kind of talking among themselves, and it doesn't really do anything. And so unless we can actually have results, I didn't really want to do it until we were at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point, because the interest from filmmakers, as you said, has been there, but you also want to make sure that you provide them with the tools and the resources for them to go back and actually execute, hopefully sooner rather than later after they take part in your lab.
Yeah.
Great. So, you know, what is the website again, so that people know where to find the application?
Well, there's two sites you can go to, and either way will get you to it. There's our usual bloodinthesnow.ca website. And then now we've built his own sister site, which is deadlyexposure.ca. And that will be all the information about the industry side, including the horror development lab, and all the application details will be there. But if you go to one site, one will get to the other. And then our social media is all three of them, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is Bits Film Fest. At Bits Film Fest, one word. And you'll find all the information too on the website too. You can click on that as well if you want to just click on that for that. And that's the main thing.
Okay, great. I'll be sure to add the website in the description of this video and also tag it on my socials. Carolyn, I want to give you space to mention your own website for those people who want to read your film.
Oh, it's viewfromthedark.ca. So yeah, and I focus on people of color as much as I can, especially with what's coming out now. So yeah, I focus on people of color in genre. I've branched out a bit now, so yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both. It was really great.
Thank you so much, Heidi.
All right.